What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Netman podcast. Tonight we have Bo Stevens, National Sales Director for iKon Boats. I met Bo a couple years ago in Knoxville at the East Tennessee Fishing Show and uh, kind of hit it off. Just kind of became buddies and stayed in touch a little bit and thought it'd be a great person to interview tonight. So excited to do all that. And guys, if you're finding any value at all in these, please subscribe, leave us a comment. Anything helps. We're going to keep doing these regardless, but we want to grow and we want to hear what you want, and we want the feedback, good or bad. So, Aaron, I'm excited for tonight and talk about some iKon boats. And what are you thinking? You ready?
I'm ready. But like Jesse said, guys, leave us some comments and just tell us kind of what guests you'd like to hear from, what topics you'd like to hear about, whether it's either tackle or rigging or specific species of fish. That kind of helps give us direction on what you guys want to hear. So, yeah, let's get started, Jesse.
Absolutely. Also, episode 13 tonight. Let's do it.
Sism, okay. Whoa, wait a minute.
Can you hear us?
Talk to me. Yeah.
Yo.
All right.
Let's go.
No need to panic, right?
We got all the time in the world.
Control chaos right here.
It's technology, dude. How are you, brother?
I got a gray beard. I guess it does surprise you.
Yeah, we're getting there, aren't we?
I just shaved mine off this morning. Don't worry about that.
Oh, man, I know. I'm getting them stragglers starting. I don't love it. I don't love it. Them daughters, them little girls keep adding them grays of that beard.
I've got 3 daughters, so that's what happened.
I've got one, so I'm gray, like right here.
It's coming.
Yeah.
How old is she?
12.
Oh, okay. It's coming.
Yeah, we both have a 12 and pretty much both have a one right around 7.
I've got one getting married. I have a set of twins. One just got married in October, and the other twin is getting married in about 3 weeks.
Nice.
Oh, congrats, man.
Man, you're a busy man.
You gotta sell some boats, bro.
Yeah, you gotta sell some boats. Well, hopefully we can help you do that. I don't know, Aaron, this is Bo, obviously. Bo, Aaron. Aaron and I own the Great Lakes Fishing Expo together, so we're just good friends and trying to do this just to chat with guys like you. And Aaron, I met Bo in Knoxville a couple years ago. Just one of them good guys that came up and supported us with Blue Rock, and somehow ended up with each other's phone number along the way, and I've stayed in touch enough. So great dude.
Yeah,
Bill.
I wasn't even with iKon back then. I was just putting around. Hey, listen, I hadn't had any time off and made it through boat show season, which you can certainly appreciate, in the Classic and Red Crest and all of that. So I took last week, went up to St. Clair, caught a bunch of smallmouth on your tubes, Jesse.
Did you really? That's
Absolutely.
awesome, man. A little jealous. I haven't had time to leave the shop. It's been a really good spring for us, just business wise, or getting a ton of support. It's been cool, but fishing when I can. I'm definitely not going to be able to leave the state probably at least for a few more weeks, but yeah. So
your business is growing. You're kind of expanding your product line, from what I could tell.
Yeah, well, you got to, man. If you're not, someone else is. So you know how it is.
Yep. Good.
Yeah, we're.
Well, they were biting your little tube. They were biting your little tube last week up there at St. Clair.
Sadly, I've been hearing that quite a bit, and it's.
I bet you have.
I'm happy, but I'm jealous at the same time. So it's all good, though. So you got to get out there and run that iKon around a little bit, huh?
I did. I could put it to the test. It was a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I hear nothing but good things about them on big water, so I'm sure we'll get into some of that and
certainly
just shoot the bull around, man. Nothing crazy. We're just thankful you joined us, and yeah, talk some boats, talk a little fishing, or whatever comes about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the things,
Yeah,
well, a few of the things that we really want to kind of get into is obviously the Icon boat and all the differences between you guys and other manufacturers, and I guess what makes you guys Icon, right? Um, all the new features you come out with, the ride, the whole design, really whatever it is that you want to pitch. Um, it's just it's an open conversation, and you have the floor. So um, we'll rely a little bit on you to kind of steer the conversation. We'll ask questions to have you elaborate, um, and then we'll just see where it takes us.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love telling kind of our story so people understand us as a company, and kind of where some of these features and innovation originate from.
yeah,
Okay. Well,
absolutely, man. I want to hear it.
yeah. So I guess let's start there. Tell us kind of the history and kind of how Icon was birthed and how it all came about.
Sure. Sure. So our sister company is HCB Yachts. So a lot of us in the bass market might not know HCB Yachts, but what we do know, if you're old enough, is a company called Hydrosport Boats. So that's what HCB stands for, Hydrosport Custom Boats. And so that company originated as a bass boat company. That's their roots. Changed the short story is it changed hands a couple times, and then uh, 15, 17 years ago, that company became a custom, super high end. Um, we call them yachts, but they're center consoles. So 38 to 65-foot center consoles with outboards on them. So the 65-footer has 600 horsepower engines on the back.
Oh,
Those are all made
nice.
in Von Orr, Tennessee, right up the road from iKon. So that's our sister company. And so the ownership at HCB said, we think we can make a bass boat and innovate. And maybe even said, I think we can make a better bass boat than what's out there. And so therein lies how it started with that idea. And so they gathered up a number of competitive boats, right? Other brands, you would recognize all those brand names, and put that engineering team that builds those boats on that project to basically benchmark them, drive them, ride them, go through them, the construction. And so things they liked, things they didn't like about those boats, the ride, and even features inside the boats. And the cool thing at HCB is they're fully custom. So, of course, they do the fiberglass, the hulls and liner and cap, which we'll get into. They build their own wiring harnesses for these boats. They have metal fabrication for the towers. They do powder coat painting on the engines. They have full cut and sew fabric, so fully customizable. They have cabinet makers over there. So anything a person wants in one of those HCB boats, whether it's a charter boat, fully 100% fishing, or if it's just somebody island hopping that, quite frankly, parties and runs around, they can build it that way. So that's the manufacturing processes and capabilities that are at HCB that we tap into, and that those naval architecture engineers incorporated some of that big water design into the boat. And so similarly, if you took a plant tour, the way the 53 Suenos is built, fiberglass hull, fiberglass liner that supports it, and then cap, we do the same thing at iKon. So our wiring harnesses are made there. So then so we're a boat building company that got into the bass boat business, which is important for me to tell that story because it's not just a group of people that got together and said, let's start a bass boat company. They're a very successful boat building company, saltwater boat company that used all those resources to start iKon.
So what was that process like? Like how long did when the leadership team said, "Hey, we're going to start building bass boats." Like what was that journey? Was it a year, 5 years before the first boat hit the market?
Probably a couple years, and there are some instrumental people. Mike Myers, their VP engineering over there, was instrumental in that. One of the guys that I deal with daily that I just love to death, Brent Butler. A lot of people might know that name in East
Yep.
Tennessee. He's a
Yep.
real big time fisherman here in East Tennessee, and he was engaged from the very beginning. And a lot of the really cool features in the boat that you might miss, but that have a fisherman's input on it, Brent had to do. And then, of course, they engaged with Jacob Wheeler in the middle of that process as well.
Yeah, that's the right kind of input for sure. I had the opportunity to meet Brett at the same show I met you a couple of years later there. And
Yeah,
good dude. Uh, it's a small world, man. You meet people and you have a lot of common friends. You realize how tight the fishing community really is. But
absolutely.
yeah,
So I didn't mean to. I didn't want to ramble on, but that
no,
story is important because when, like at a boat show or at a dealership, if somebody says, "Well, what's so different about this boat? Bo, take me through this boat." When I go through that, you'll see design, thoughtful design, meaning that I think is a saltwater input. If you look at saltwater boats, they're always about access for repairs because you just saltwater causes things to break, but then if you're out in the middle of the ocean, you have to be able to repair something to get back. So some of that design, when you look at our transom and the way the the doors on the back open up so you can have access, but where all of our pumps and everything electronically is easily accessible, especially when
yeah,
considered it's a bass boat. That's just not the case in most bass boats. And most
Yeah.
bass
no,
boat companies are 30, 40, 50, 75 years old. And so they've morphed over time. And so we just had a fresh look from the ground up to go, okay, we're going to make the bow of this boat super wide so two guys can stand there. We're going to give you the ability to put 3 or 4 graphs up there and still have room to get in and out of the boat. So it's things like that that ended up
yeah,
happening.
Well, and
yeah.
Jesse and
It's
I were just talking last week how uh like one of the pumps on my live well needs replaced, and in order to get to it, I've got to take out the floor in the back, and there's like a plastic kind of lid that needs unscrewed off of it, and I mean it's a weekend project.
yeah, it's just those older boats, even into the you know early 2000s. I think mine's an '05, and it's still like they weren't made to hold all the electronics and stuff. They weren't made to hold all those batteries, and like that's one thing I'm jealous of. I was watching a video. I think it's called your IT system as the abbreviation, but how it created so much more space under the deck. And like when it shows your battery compartment in the back, like it's loaded with batteries and the pumps and everything, and there's still, I mean, you could almost, get your whole torso down in there still to work on anything you want to. And I absolutely envy that. Like it is truly, I mean, it's a luxury bass boat. It is very nice.
Yeah, thanks. But yeah, the wiring harness, they really stepped up their game on a few things. And so the wiring harness and clean power and incorporating a lot of the capabilities we had on the saltwater side into these bass boats with 6 and 8 gauge wiring, clean power, easily accessible through the boat and easy to fish those cables through the
Yeah.
trough on the either port or starboard side, and bus bars that are like at the bow. When you pull that panel, your bus bars are right there. You can get both hands in. So if you're on the water, you can unscrew that and get to those bus bars and problem solve. But certainly rigging or changing your electronics, which everybody does now, or
Hmm.
upgrading is just much easier. So we really up the game with the industry there for sure.
So what
Yeah.
for the listeners, what exactly is clean power? Like what are we talking about with that?
Yeah. So on the LX, our Legends series, we actually have a touchscreen there, but we just have clean routing that's not split off, 6 and 8 gauge wiring up to the bow, and everything's labeled on our wiring harnesses. Would be easy to show you. There's some great YouTube videos called iKon DNA on the iKon Boats YouTube page, and we've got a whole diagram. We've taken that to the Bassmaster Classic and Redcrest, but you can really see that with your NEMA connections and everything and how we do that. That would be a video people would certainly want to click on. Our iKon DNA will show the boat apart and how we've wired it.
So, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, maybe a little bit more, um, there's companies coming out with wiring harnesses for clean or clear power that run a heavy gauge insulated wire um, from the battery all the way up to the front for electronics. And so we're not talking about just clear power. We're talking about clean. So everything's organized, everything's labeled. So it's not just the one aspect of it. It's like everything that's powered on the boat it's clean.
Yeah, there's no need for an aftermarket wiring harness on our boats. That's been a very popular topic for guys certainly using forward facing and getting enough power from their batteries. It's built into our boat. It's not necessary for that addition. And it's part of what you pay for, right? I mean, we get the wrap a little bit. Certainly the first LX series we came out with, that boat's expensive. I get it. Everything's expensive. We think you get what you pay for on that LX. I mean, that boat, quite frankly, was designed to be the best product that iKon could make. Meaning, so our engineering team tested latches. So they tested all different brands and styles of latches. And some people ask why we don't have slam latches. Well, we picked a latch that was the absolute most waterproof. So we didn't say, well, which one is least expensive or which one's middle of the road cost. We simply went with which is the best which is the best mechanical latch that doesn't leak into our compartments, and that's what goes into that boat. So yeah, some of that cost a little more money. Certainly there are guys that are willing to pay that, and have been in the past, that if they just want the best experience they can get, that's what we're trying to provide on that LX series for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a specific customer for that boat, but Bo, I wanted to ask, like, just being a guy that's hopefully someday going to buy a brand new boat or close to new, how does that process work? Like, from a manufacturing standpoint, does every boat you guys sell get custom ordered, or do you guys make a standard set of like so many of these colors and send them to dealerships, or is everyone just custom picked, or how does that work?
Great question, Jesse. So we build to order. So we if a one of our dealers orders a quote stock boat for their showroom, they order it, they pick the color, they pick the equipment, and we build that. So we do not build boats currently until we have an order. So
Okay.
you can call that custom orders. It's not truly custom, but it is our order sheet. And if you go online in our boat builder, which I would encourage people to do, you can pick options and build your own boat colors and color options. It's all online now, like everyone else. But yeah, you can pick and choose what's important to you and what features you would leave off. I have to mention, I talked about the LX series boat, and it's been the plan all along. We came out with our biggest, baddest, best boat we can make, the LX 21. But we have a boat called the VLS 20. It's a 20-foot even boat with a 225 horsepower that has a nationally advertised retail price with 2 graphs and a trolling motor for $69,580. So we're not
No,
it,
that's
we
super
got the math
competitive in
really
today's
early of,
market.
oh my gosh, they're way over the top. Who's going to spend that? But the plan
Right.
all along is the Victory series is a completely different boat. It's not a stripped down LX. Rides if you rode in a VLX or Victory series boat and then got in the LX, the Legend series, you would go, wait a minute, these are two completely different boats, and they ride different and perform different.
Let's
Nice.
let's talk
Yeah,
about
so it's
that a little bit. Like the hull design, the ride, the seats, like all that. Like what makes one a better ride versus another? Not just in icons, but in boats in general. Like what makes you guys kind of stand out in that area?
Sure. So we have a very aggressive variable dead rise V in our boat, and we carry that V in the hull way back towards the pad, a little farther than most. And so our boat lands really soft in salt water. You can see that video of Hunter Shryock and Jacob Wheeler. They took an LX boat out to the Bahamas, and there's some great shots of that boat landing in waves, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But that's one of the things they incorporated for a boat that's fast in rough water and rides very comfortably. Now, the trade off on that is top end speed. So we took a little heat on the LX, but it's a big. If you get in that boat, it's big and wide, and when you keep the nose really wide, right, you're giving up some top end speed. I don't like to talk numbers ever, but you guys, it's just you guys and me talking. So the LX boats are high 60s, possibly 70, depending on setup and how much blue rock tackle you have in that boat. You know what I'm
A
saying? So
lot.
Yeah.
everything affects that. Yeah, and
Yeah.
we have big tackle storage, so it begs people to put a lot of weight in there. But the
Right.
VLX is faster than that. Um, so from a design perspective, we have this second piece of fiberglass that becomes our stringer system and support system that other boats really don't have. So we add a little extra weight. And so that's a trade-off. You get this really solid ride. You don't get a hollow slap, and it's fully foam filled. Those two layers are in between that. And so then the cap goes on. So we kind of have an extra piece of fiberglass. The LX is heavier, super comfortable. The seats are a design we made on our own that's got a 6 spring system underneath the seat cushion. The VLX series, the Victory series, has a more traditional bass boat seat. People seem to really like that, but that LX seat's a little expensive. And then on the LX, one of the things we have this cool hatch on the front of the console that opens up and has storage and/or you can get to your electronics. That's really labor intensive and expensive. So we took that off. We still have a one-piece fiberglass console on the Victory series, but it saved a little money and made us a little faster in that boat. So it's things like that.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Um,
was go ahead, Aaron.
um, so I was going to ask. So you've got the Legend series and the Victory series, um, and those are both in the 20 and 20 foot, 20 and 21 foot sizes.
Well, it's a little
21.
confusing on the not to interrupt, but on the Legend series where the LX20 is 20 feet 10 inches
Okay.
and the 21 is 21 10.
Okay.
And then the
Uh,
Victory series is 21 even and 20 even. It's a little confusing, but that's how we do it. Yep.
but yeah, so it's still in that 20 foot range and the 21 foot range.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any plans or talks about more of like the 17, 18, 19 footers that a lot of the other brands are offering for the more entry level guys?
Great question. And we've looked at that really, really hard. Currently, no, because we've looked at the marketplace and the leadership at iKon really digs into the data and their numbers guys. But they've looked at the number of those boats sold. It's just not near what the 20 and 21 foot market is. So that's where we live. But what I will tell you, our 20-foot even boat, super wide at the bow, all of those same features I'm talking about. That's the boat we put a 225 on. And that's a boat that's under $70,000 fully rigged. We also sell that boat with the 250 that has become really popular. There's kind of some guys down in Alabama that love that 20-footer with a 250. It's fast.
What's that upgrade? I mean, cost wise.
Yeah, so like a VLX, you can look online. We have our pricing online, but I think the base boat is like 73.
Oh
on that.
yeah, see, that's
Yeah,
a
so we're right
no-brainer.
in there with our competitors, and that was
Yeah,
the plan all along.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to go back to what you were saying. When you were talking speed, there's a lot of guys like me that I'll take a little bit of more of that comfort and stability over a couple extra miles an hour. I'm not the guy that worries so much if I'm going 78 or 70. But the comfort there's a customer that worries more about that big deck and the comfort as well. But you get up here like on the Ohio River, like a lot of these guys do want just a really fast boat because there's only a limited number of places that might have a bass on it. You want
You're
to be the
all racing to the same
right,
bass.
yeah. So you see
The
you
same
see the old
12-inch
bullets
fish.
and
Yeah.
gambler, yeah, yeah. But yeah, you'll get your cheaps flapping in some of those Ohio River, those old rigs on there.
Yeah, people seem to really like that 20-foot Victory series. It's becoming very popular with us. Same construction, and there's really a few things that we did. So the whole design, the wiring harness, and then the other thing I haven't mentioned, the live well system that's similar in all of those boats. These guys just completely, I always say they geeked out on the live well. They went way, way, way above what anybody, and I'm not being arrogant, they went way beyond what anybody else is doing in a bass boat on the live well. So it's basically a Yeti cooler that's set back there. It's two pieces of fiberglass that are fully insulated. And then, we have this cool fish IV feature that's an option that injects the live well additive automatically. And then fully insulated lids. So there's just a lot going on with that live well that's got a auto fill mechanism. It's got a float switch. So it's,
That's awesome.
so that the
Yeah,
water starts to come down, it kicks on itself and fills itself back up, autofill, and then we fill that live well all the way to the tip top, much like an offshore boat where they keep live bait alive for days, in rough seas. And so we learned that as long as that there's no gap in air and it's full all the way to the top and the lid's closed on that, those fish do not bounce around like they normally do. So there's some cool things going on with our L2 live well system. You can learn more about that online. But yeah, that adds a little weight back there to the back of the boat. But yeah, nothing but positive comments about our live
well,
well system.
it seems like every little thing on an icon has that the detail of what you're talking about with just the live wells. I know Jason Clemens. He brings one to the Great Lakes Fishing Expo, and just going around and looking at that thing and talking to him and Jeremy a little bit about like every single thing is like a better thing. And it all makes sense. It's not just gimmicks either. It's like, wow, like they went above and beyond and really thought this through. And you can tell guys like Jacob and Brent and real bass fishermen were involved in doing it. Uh, it's just a sweet boat. And I'm not just saying that either.
No, no,
Like it's
no. You
freaking
may,
sweet.
and people may agree or disagree with some of the design of that boat, but one thing I can assure you, the team thought about it, talked about it, and made a decision of here's the way we're going to do it and here's why. So like that, all of our consoles, if you look at them, it's a small thing. You see no screws whatsoever. We screw the windshield on and there's a panel, but there's no screws on the front of that. So most bass boat companies have a console and then they put this big piece of plastic shroud over the front. It all screws into the fiberglass. That's just a failure point, right? Screws in fiberglass is not great. They're going to degrade over time or rattle or shake it. So there's very few fasteners, and what fasteners we do have, or we try to hide them and secure them. And so it's things like that. One of my favorite features to point out to people on the icons. So we have a giant cooler that's really big right in the center that creates a really big step up to the front deck. So it's not a trip hazard. It's easy to walk up make that step up to the front deck. And it is exactly the same height as the storage in between the two seats. So that way, if I'm standing in the back of the boat and Jesse, you yell, "Hey, Bo, get the net," it's one normal stride from both those steps. And so they thought about that, made them the same height, about that same distance apart. and it's things like that they thought about, way before I was involved. It's as the sales guy, it's awesome because it gives me a lot to talk about.
Well, you're making me think of times I've done a cartwheel in a bass boat on accident now.
We all have,
Well,
right?
and talking about that cooler, it's not just I can hold a couple Gatorades. It's you can hold a case of water, um, and so it's little things like that that aside from the technology built in the live well, aside from the hull technology, um, it's those little details like uh, the weigh bag fill, right? That you didn't even know you wanted until you saw it, and you're like, man, I wish I had that on my boat. Um,
Oh, you're
and
talking
so,
about the live well pump out with the hose that we screw
yeah,
into that? Yeah.
yeah, for your weigh
Yeah,
bag. Because I can't
yeah,
Yep.
tell you how many times you get sprayed trying to fill your bag up, like right before weigh-in,
all
like,
right,
um,
yeah.
and just
No,
those
it's
little
just that.
convenience features.
Yeah, they had that idea because those fishermen that helped design it have seen guys like me trying to jimmy rig a hose and like do it, just it just made sense, like, and that's it. Like it's cool, and I speaking of the tournament stuff, I wanna ask, just for our listeners that might fish some tournaments, like, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this tailgate tour, if you wanted to. Like, it seems like a really cool deal, a chance to win an icon, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's 5 tournaments. And so you do not have to own an icon to fish in it. You go online, go to our website, get all of the details, but it's a team tournament, very nominal entry fee. First prize is $10,000 at each one of these tournaments.
yeah.
I'll give you the brief rundown. If you finish in the top 5, then your team qualifies to go to Dale Hollow this fall and fish for an icon boat. So the first one's
Again,
in May at Kentucky Lake. We're at Lake of the Ozarks. We're on Erie.
yep. For our local listeners, Lake Erie, July 13th.
There you go. Thank
Yep,
you.
yep, absolutely.
Yeah, so jump into that. And so the cool thing about if you finish in the top 5 and you go to Dale Hollow this fall and fish for an icon first, somebody's going to win an icon boat, fully rigged.
Out of 20 boats at Dale, right?
Yeah,
That's
that's
awesome.
exactly right. And then we've even talked Jacob Wheeler into fishing that tournament. You're not competing with him, but if you weigh in if you have more weight than Jacob does that day, you win an additional 10 grand. So
That's awesome.
that'll be kind of cool.
10 grand
Yeah,
and bragging rights for life.
right.
And you beat Wheeler, yeah, and
Right.
not to mention you win the boat, right?
Yeah, that's killer,
So
dude.
we're just trying to create some interest at all of those events or tournaments. We're going to have boats there to test drive. We're just trying to do it for brand awareness. People haven't, we're new. People haven't
Yeah,
seen our boat. They certainly haven't ridden in our boat, and we think that's a difference maker. So we want to have some fun. Support the bass fishing community. Have some cool tournaments and events. People can check us out. But again, you don't have to have an icon to fish in that tournament.
yeah. No, I love it, man. Out working and keeping the tournament fishermen excited, and I respect and appreciate all of it.
Yeah, one of the things I got to tell you, as far as I've been there a little less than 2 years. What's important to me to tell people that fish or might be interested in icon is we have a small team of people, but that's what I really love and embrace. So, like our customer service, it's Bryce and Jason. So, if you call customer service, you're going to talk to somebody. We really stand behind our product. Um, but there's a small group of people that are highly invested in just emotionally invested in trying to make the best product and really engage with people. And so I just think you're going to get a much more personal experience with us. A lot of the bass boat companies are really big, and I get that. And they've been around a long time, and there's a lot of great choices out there if you're going to buy a new bass boat. But we're just a little different in that way, that it's a much more personal field. We're not building thousands of boats yet, but we're trying to get there, but we really care about our customers. Most of our customers, if I see somebody with an iKon, I want to know where they got it. I probably remember that order coming through and that sort of thing. So we all individually know a lot of our customers.
Nice.
Jesse mentioned earlier. So in our area, we've got Clemens boats, um, and so as you guys grow, uh, how does that dealership work with iKon? I imagine they all have kind of territories that they own. Are you guys bringing on a lot of new dealers each year?
They
Um,
do. We have about 40 dealers. We're trying to really partner with dealers that can learn our boat, and when a consumer walks in and goes, okay, tell me about this iKon, they really understand the boat and can walk them through and go, here's what's different about an iKon.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, we've got about 40, but you're right. Jason Clemens at Clemens is great. Love him. He's a hardcore bass fisherman, and so he's been great for our brand. He's all in on our product and has been since day one as far as that LX21 on Lake Erie. And I
Yeah.
think he runs a LX21 with a 300R Mercury on it. So I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty much the baddest. That's a bad machine. That's a
Yeah.
bad machine right there.
He posts some awesome clips just chewing those choppers up out there, man, and you can just appreciate the ride that it is, which it's
Yeah,
quickly
he's
become known as a good big water boat. So
yeah,
he's proven the concept for sure.
yeah, certainly. But we're expanding that dealer network. Thanks for asking. We're trying to work our way west to the West Coast, but certainly Texas, Missouri,
Yeah,
uh, Arkansas. We've added dealers and all through the Southeast, Alabama, the Carolinas. So we've got dealers should be close to anybody that's really interested in an iKon now should be able to find a dealer within a reasonable distance.
yeah, and
uh,
I'm sure that's a process because I'm sure it's got to make sense too. Like you don't want to get in a relationship that doesn't make sense. So, but 40 is impressive, and I'm assuming it'll just continue to grow.
We're working on that for sure.
Yeah.
um, so if let's say I lived in Idaho, uh, and I wanted to order an iKon boat, like, would you guys ship one out there? Like, how,
We would direct you. Everything's through a dealer, so
sure.
we would find you a dealer that can get you a boat, right, and work that out. We have a number of dealers that will manage that process. We have Limit Out Marines out there in Washington. That would probably be the closest one to Idaho. He's sold some boats over there. Yep.
Nice.
I don't plan
What do
on
you
moving to Idaho.
have?
I'm just saying.
You were just trying to stump me, right?
Right.
So if you lived in this, oh, I'll call it the Ohio River Valley region, maybe Ohio, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, like other than Clemens, what regionally may does Wheatus
Wheatus
carry it?
does, yeah.
Okay,
Wheatus has been on with us since early on. Yeah, he's
okay.
a
I
great
thought I
marine
saw.
dealer. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They do a great job down there. Absolutely, and he's a
Malone's is Chris Malone
okay.
at
Chris
Malone's
is
Marine is over
okay.
there. Chris is great.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep, I forgot Chris. Okay, so there's options around the whole region here.
there are
That's
options.
that's good to know. I just kind of wanted to get it out there in case someone wanted to pop in and check one out sometime.
Nope. They all have boats in their showroom, and Jason he's something else. Like he will challenge anybody that if they want to come take a test drive, he's right there at his marina right there. It makes it real easy to put it in the water and take them
Yeah,
for a ride.
yeah, they've got an awesome spot, man. He can literally put his boat in the Sandusky Bay there and just go to catch a bass. It's a it's a cool dealership for sure.
Yeah, I had well, sidebar here. I had no idea the largemouth bass fishing in Sandusky
No,
Bay.
it's unreal, man. It's awesome. Like it.
Last year, Jason had a on the water demo day, and so I went up there and we had the Victory Series was brand new, so we had one of the first Victory Series boats up there. But we had an LX20 and 21, so people could ride. The evening before, I met him a couple hours before dark, and he took me out there.
Yeah, that
I
that boy
still
can
talk
catch
about
him
it. He
too.
caught
He
so
can
many
catch
bass;
him.
it was
Yeah,
ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the
It's
better
so good.
question,
It's hard to.
yeah, the better question is what was he catching them on?
I don't want to answer for Jason, but I will tell you, he took me
Hey,
for a little ride and pulled up to a lily pad, and he was like, "This has been a pretty good spot." And the first two casts, he caught one. I was like, "Oh, I guess that's a pretty good
hey,
spot."
Jason's a pretty big boy, but you gotta be careful.
I'm not telling his secrets.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Um,
awesome.
so Jesse and I were chatting. We were talking about, or before you got on, about the you got a couple of Ohio State kids that are on the staff team. What's the connection there?
Yeah, that kind of took place before I was there, but I think there's an Ohio State little connection in our leadership team that got
Okay.
connected with those.
Oh,
Yeah, those are great kids. Those are great kids, even in spite of them going to Ohio State. Listen, we're
easy now.
icon south of Knoxville. I don't want to talk about that college football playoff and what they did to the Vols. That's
Oh, yeah.
terrible. We're still not over it, but
Too soon, huh? Too
a
soon.
little too soon for that one. But yeah, those are Cameron and Braden. Those are great guys. Yeah,
Yeah, hell, they're out there representing you guys too, and I work with them kids with my business, and man, they're up there tearing some Alum Creek bass up about every weekend. Those kids are just freaking phenomenal nationwide with the electronics and stuff. I mean,
yeah,
we're all getting a little older. We talk about it all the time, but they're representing you guys well, so
good.
um, that's
Yeah, so
that's good.
I'll mention that. So we have a little different take on that. So we have three pros: Jacob Wheeler, Hunter Shryock, and Kyle Welcher. And I mean, Kyle Welcher is he's on. I'm afraid he's on a run right now.
He's
That's
on
some
a tear.
hot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, he's on a tear. And sidebar, Hunter Shryock, he his hometown is probably 45 minutes from. It's like between me and you, Aaron,
Yep.
Newcomerstown. So he used to post a bunch of YouTube videos on Salt Fork and a bunch of local lakes before he moved down there. But
yeah, and that's a little by design. Those three guys all bring something different to the table from a marketing perspective, but they're three great anglers and they all are close to us. So Jacob and Hunter are close, and then Kyle's, a couple few hours, but we can have access to them. It's kind of by design that they're close so they can give us feedback.
yeah,
Um, on the boats when we want to call them in, we can kind of brainstorm with them, and they're putting a lot of hours on them, so they give us real feedback. And that's one of the. I hate to sound like a commercial, but I'm really just trying to tell people the culture at iKon is absolute continuous improvement. You're going to see a lot of stuff in the future from us continuing to tweak, and because there's some cool things, structures in place. As the sales guy, when I hear from dealers or consumers, we have a monthly kind of forum where I have the ability to provide all of that feedback that we're getting from people, and our engineers take it very serious. As to, okay, is there a different process or different material or something we need to change, or what is everybody else doing? Is there another idea out there? Is there a look or color or upholstery that we can do different? And so you'll see these boats kind of morph and tweak and change all the time. And for better for worse, that's just how we're wired, is to try to make it better all the time.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
I would say that the boat industry as a whole is continually evolving in what they're putting into the boats. Um, and so, how are you guys staying ahead of that? Obviously, you're taking the feedback and stuff, but you don't want to chase the another brand. You guys want to lead that. Um, and so, what makes that part of the process for you guys different?
Yeah, we have some pretty creative people, but they're really, our leadership is really challenging our engineers to continually innovate. And what else is out there? How can we, like I just stated, what features are important to fishermen? What can we incorporate? What do they want to know the tire pressure on their trailer? Do they want to have an app that tells them that? Do they want some other cool electronic capabilities? You know, a lot of these guys now are streaming. And so, do you want Starlink on your bass boat? It's now becoming, you know, we do that on saltwater boats, so it's becoming somewhat affordable. Do you want that? Do you want, what are the things people want? Or what are other industries doing? And so those questions are asked all the time at iKon.
Yeah. I think the way I would describe it with a brand like your guys is you know, a bass boat's always going to be a bass boat. You can't really like reinvent the wheel there, but all of the fine like details down to the finest point, all of those little things, like when you wrap them up into a bundle, it makes a huge difference. And man, I've rode in so many boats over the years. Like some of them are known to have junky switches. Some of them are known to break your back on, little 1 foot choppers. And like, just taking all those things, like you guys, you said you rounded up all those boats when you guys started designing yours. Like that's what it takes. And you have three guys, like top tier guys to bounce ideas off of. And I'm sure they're all super meticulous. And what better feedback could you get than from three like guys that are at the probably all three of them are at the pinnacle of their career right now, and just they're all killing it in different
Yeah.
ways. So it's
You know,
pretty
and
awesome,
some of
man.
the things, Aaron, to your question, some of the things we incorporate in the boat maybe aren't necessary, but have a cool factor. And let's
Right?
face it, right? You don't you can catch bass out of anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not always about that, right? But if
Yeah.
you can afford it, it's your passion, it's who you are as a person and your identity. And I bass fish, and some of these cool features, like Boatmate makes our trailer to our specs, but like on our upgraded trailer, when you back the boat into the water, it's got a sensor and it lights up the trailer frame. You need that? No, but it's pretty cool. It's kind
Right.
of cool at night. I can really see my trailer, but one of the things, I had been at iKon about a year, and Brent pointed it out to me. Somebody made a question on our upgraded trailer. We have a handlebar, which is nothing new. Everybody's been doing that. We have a handlebar on the front of that trailer, right, with 3 steps, so you can step right into the boat. There's a handle. And so Brent pointed out to me, he said, Bo, do you know why that handle has this big curve in it? I said, well, no, I hadn't really thought about it. And so he squatted down on both feet on the trailer tongue, like we all do getting in and out of the boat when you launch. And when he squatted down, we put a curve right there so you can hook your shoulder around that and you're braced and you can crank the crank handle. And I went, I didn't know that. So it's little things like that. That is it necessary? Nah, it doesn't matter. You put a handle on there, but there's little tweaks like that that just are really cool. And there's some cool stuff we do that's not necessary. Just makes your experience a little better. Like on the LX, our power button. The breakers in the back of the boat that when you're done with the day, you got to go back and flip the power breaker, turn that off. On the LX, that's actuated, so it's automatic. So when you hit the power button on the console, they turn themselves. That's a little cool feature from our saltwater boats that we put in there. That's what that and the phone charger. It's so funny. You got $100,000 bass boat, and I'll ask somebody that's had a boat, what's your favorite thing about the boat? And they'll go, you know what? I love that phone charger. I'm like, what? The phone charger? They're like, yeah, charges through my case. I always know where my phone is. It's right under the console right there. So,
Yeah.
it's not always these big design things that people really fall in love with.
No, the little things, man, the details.
Well,
Not
you
everybody
guys have
needs their
what, like
phone these days.
you got what, like 6 or 7 USB connections on it for just cameras
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
everything else.
if you need them. Yep, we've
Everybody's
got one
making
over by
content.
we've got one over by the co-angler spot. We put a lot of thought into the co-angler as well. But yeah, there's a USB flat spot to put their feet, handles on both sides of the seat. So they put a lot of thought into that as well.
Well, I fished a tournament Saturday, and I think the morning it was like 48 degrees. So I could go for some heated seats. Is that coming out anytime soon?
You might see that.
Okay.
Heated steering wheels, what I would
Heated
want.
steering wheel.
Right.
If we do heated seats, we'll do heated steering wheel as well. So
Absolutely.
that, you know,
That
yeah.
that would be a game changer on those long runs, man,
So is
for
that, can I
sure.
take that as input? Can I send that as
Absolutely.
your recommendation? Heated seats,
Absolutely,
heated
man.
steering wheel.
We
Okay.
won't even ask
Absolutely.
for
Yeah,
royalties or
heated
nothing. That's
steering
all yours.
wheel. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Steering wheel for sure. Oh, I
Mhm.
could probably come up with. I've got plenty of ideas. I'm just never smart enough to put them into action. You can ask Aaron about that.
I understand.
So how'd you end up at iKon, Bo?
Yeah, I'm not so sure. Excuse me. Yeah, it through a connection. Actually, Mike Myers, who I mentioned, the VP of engineering, a couple conversations we had. It was just one of those things when the timing was right. I inquired. My kids were older. I kind of got out. I was in the sporting goods business, fishing tackle business early in my career, and then I had 4 kids, and the travel was a lot, and it just
Yeah.
wasn't a life choice. It wasn't a sacrifice I was willing to make at the time for all that weekend travel. I wanted to coach ball teams and be available. So Lord kind of worked that out. That my youngest was a sophomore at UT over here and out of the house. And I kind of was just like, man, I was in medical sales at the time. And I was like, is this it? Is this how I ride this out? Like I want to get back in the fish. So I had a couple conversations and the timing was right. They needed some help on the sales side and we're growing. And so I convinced them I was a perfect fit right here in Knoxville. So that's how that worked out.
That's cool, man. That's cool.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah, I think that it's important. As long as I've known you, you seem like a super solid dude, and I think they made a heck of a choice. So I
Well,
hope
it's
I
nice of
hope
you to
you
say.
can continue to ride it out, man. I uh, I hope the best for it all.
No, I
Hopefully, I can
appreciate
buy
that.
one someday.
I have a lot of energy and I just trust the people I work with, right? And all the things that I've tried to explain,
Yeah.
other people have built that product. I didn't build that product. I'm just the communicator. And
No,
like,
yeah, and you don't have to be the guy that builds it. Like I told Aaron, just talking before, I told him you're gonna love Bo. He's nothing but good vibes, and that's why you got that job. I guarantee it.
yeah.
So,
Well, listen,
uh,
the bottom line is I like to bass fish. So it
right,
doesn't feel like a lot of hard
yeah,
work. I
you're
spend
passionate
long
about it.
hours talking to dealers and about bass boats and other brands and how we fit in. And it
Yeah,
just, yeah,
Well,
it feels natural to me.
yeah, and I'm in sales too, and it makes a world of difference, and it makes your job enjoyable and easy when you believe in what you're selling. And you clearly believe in the iKon brand, the product they're pushing out, and that's very evident in this conversation.
Well, I appreciate that. But what I will tell you, when you start a new brand, it's hard.
Yeah.
I'm feeling
I
it.
don't know if people want to hear that side of it, but it's hard, man. I mean,
No,
people
I'm
they don't
9 years in,
be
dude.
around. There's challenges to dealers that like iKon. What is this iKon? I don't, another bass boat. Why would you want to get in the bass? People ask, why would you want to get in the bass boat business?
Well,
Right.
and
So
people want to
you
buy
got
what they're familiar with, and
Yeah,
so
and dude, it's hard to start a brand. Everybody's got a phone. Everybody's got a voice. Everybody's got a keyboard. I remember we were chuckling, Bo, at just just the negative comments you can get on social media. Just launching a brand and putting a price tag on a boat, even if it is a higher end item. Like, who wants to sit at work all day scanning through derogatory comments? Just to keep it clean. And that's one thing that stinks about the world we live in right now is you know just that. I don't know what the internet can be like the armpit of the world. It seems sometimes, but
It
uh,
can be. That I had a little growth there because I'm that guy that if there's 25 positive comments and one negative, I will quote the negative. I will go, what is this guy?
yeah,
What is he? What? you know,
That's
and
me,
that will
dude.
derail
Hurts my
me.
feelings. Like, man, come on. You want to please everybody, and that's how I think we end up in. We're all kind of doing what we want to do in a way, and it's because we care. So, but yeah, I get it with the starting a business, man. I've been hustling for a few years now, and it's always a couple steps forward, one step back, but you gotta like to grind, and
I
I
tell you,
know,
it makes me
you're a
smile when I
grinder.
see you when I'm in a tackle shop. You know, I travel around quite a bit, and a lot of these places will have tackle shops, and I'll stop in them. Makes me smile when I see your stuff on pegs and starting to expand around.
Yeah, dude, it's been cool. We're in a big scheme of things, we're nothing, but just you know, I we did a little podcast just on kind of Blue Rock, the last one, and I was telling Aaron, like, I don't know like exactly what it is, but like just like a prime example, I'm thinking of a guy like you, man. Like when you like made your announcement that you got hired at iKon, you were wearing your Blue Rock hoodie, like, and your picture with the iKon building behind you, and like that meant the world to me, dude. Like
Yeah.
that's a big deal to me. So cool people like you and Aaron. I mean, I met him with through my business, and just so many others. Like I feel like I'm just constantly thanking people because sometimes you don't feel like you deserve what you're getting, but and it's not like it's money, but just the support. Small business money just goes up and down all the time. So
But
uh,
it's really, as I've aged, I realize the world is not that big, and especially bass fishing. So, like, I go
no,
to the bass. We have a booth at the Bassmaster Classic, you know, and I love seeing some similar faces. It was very interesting to me this year, and I was telling people back at the plant, like versus last year that was in Tulsa, and this year in Fort Worth. Like, there were people in our booth that owned icons this year. And so I was like, at the end of the day, Chuck Pippin, our marketing guy out of Florida, he brought it to me. He said, "Did you talk to a number of people that owned icons?" And I was like, "Matter of fact, I did." I said, "I guess of course they would come in the booth." He goes, "I know, but that had." He goes, "Last year there weren't people coming in that owned icons." Like, he goes, "We sold some, but," and I go, "You're
right,
right. That's kind of cool." But there was a lot more interest, a lot more people understanding that the boats are affordable and right
yeah,
in there in line with other premium bass boat lines. You know, like Phoenix and Skeeter and Ranger. We're all kind of in there at the same price. So you got to decide what's important to you. But yeah, there's a lot of people out there. But when you really start traveling around, you see the same people, the same avid.
it's a tight community for
It
sure,
really is.
and it's mostly really good people. Fishermen in
Mostly,
general are pretty
mostly,
good people. Yeah,
Mostly.
mostly, mostly. There's always the 1 in 100 factor in anything in life. But I
I
wanted
say
to I wanted to go ahead, Aaron.
the ones that aren't good people become memes on social media. So,
They're fly fishermen. No, I'm
right.
just hey, I bet you guys are planning a party next year for the classic, right?
Oh my
Knoxville.
gosh, I can't tell you how excited I am to have it in Knoxville.
Yeah,
Just East Tennessee knows how to do it. And
yeah,
I think the fishing, though I'm not fishing that much, I think the fishing at Fort Loudon and Tellico is getting better. So depending on whatever the weather does, I think the fishing's going to be better. But Knoxville just got it dialed in with everything right there
dude,
downtown, you know, with the
dude,
weigh
it's
in, the takeoff, the expos all right there. So you don't have to park one place, pay
yeah,
$20, go to another place, pay $25. You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, if we can pull the right strings, and my daughter's, you know, her state meet falls that weekend every year, but might have to recruit Aaron to. I might have to make a trip to Columbus and back down and have some help there. But me and folks are talking about, pulling together, and it's hard for small guys like us, to afford space at a place like that. But
It's expensive.
right, right, right. Yeah, you got to. At the end of the day, you can't lose money. So, but we'll figure it all out. But we've grown a good support base down in there just through Sheila's show. So I think we'll be all right. But we're going to try to be there with Blue Rock. So hopefully we can hang out and um, do all that.
That'll be fantastic. Yeah, we're already thinking about
Oh, I bet you guys are
because
pumped
of
about it for
proximity, some
sure.
things we can do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be a big show for you guys, and I'm excited for you, man.
Yeah. So your listeners, uh, what are the bodies of water that most of your listeners are fishing?
It's a
Go
lot of
ahead, Aaron.
inland reservoirs across the state, and then a fair amount of Lake Erie.
Got it.
Um,
Got
So
it.
we kind of have
yeah,
this show like in affiliation with our expo, and just staying relevant with the fishing community here, Ohio, uh, Western PA, Eastern Michigan, maybe I'd call it, and then maybe that we get some customers from West Virginia and
a
all
little bit of
that.
Western New
So
York.
yeah, a little bit of New York. So just
Nice.
kind of right there. Clemens just fits perfectly
He
for
does.
our little deal. So
We have a great dealer up there in the Northeast, Thayer's Marine. He's our one guy up there in the Northeast that has icons, doing fantastic with us.
awesome, awesome. Yeah. Any other uh, any other dealers or announcements or anything we may have
No,
missed?
you mentioned Michigan. There's Montcalm Marine. Mitch at Montcalm is does a good job for us over there in Michigan. I will tell you this. It'll probably be a year maybe before you see it, but we'll have a multi-species boat, a walleye boat, that's coming
Dude, that
next.
was something I was going to ask. Which that's cool. That's a big deal up there. So um,
Yep. So we'll
that's
probably have
cool.
one model. I'm the sales guy, so there's no secrets with me. I tell everything. So I said, if you don't want me to talk about it, don't tell me about it. So I don't know a lot
Right.
about it, but our guys are trying to innovate and incorporate a lot of the things we did on the bass boat side over on the multi-species and do something really cool with that big water, rough water design and fishability, and do something cool on a multi-species boat.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Nice.
I'm sure Clemens will have his sights set on one of the first ones of those coming out the door.
So, are you okay with walleye fishermen, Jesse? Is it just fly fishermen that you haven't asked to
Yeah,
go out to?
we have a little joke. We have a little running joke about me picking on fly fishermen. I don't know why. It's just well, we had the Ohio State kids on, and we asked them about if Michigan had a bass fishing team, and I said, "Yeah, they got a fly fishing team." So we all got a good chuckle out of it. But it's just kind of a little inside joke from our. We've only
That's
been
awesome.
doing this for a couple months, but I've just made a couple friendly jabs. But it's all love. It's all love.
So you're telling me that the Blue Rock tackle's probably not expanding into the fly market? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Probably not. It's just not my game. It's not my comfort zone.
No,
Uh,
stay in your lane, right?
yeah,
Right.
yeah, but I can't do it, man. We I may try it someday, but it just you know how we are. We're us bass fishermen. We've talked about it. We're strange characters. Uh, but I don't know. I just couldn't imagine not crossing one's eyes when he bit it with that old flipping stick. So
Yeah, you can imagine not pitching that Blue Rock jig in there,
yeah,
right?
that's it, man. That's it. You got to do what you love. So no, I've got absolutely nothing against a guy that fly fishes. It's just something that's easy to laugh about sometimes. So I don't
Yeah,
even know.
I've got a lot of jokes. I don't know what this show's rated. I'll just leave it. I got a fishing buddy that has a few fly fishing jokes, so we'll just stop right there.
Well, yeah, maybe we'll bring him on with you sometime down the road and
Yeah,
maybe get
I
stuff.
think somebody took me fly fishing up in the mountains, in the Smoky Mountains one time, and I told him about it. He said, "I'll be darned! I thought you were married, had a family, and the whole deal." I'll leave
Uh,
it at that.
took a couple steps away, didn't
Yeah, he
he?
was like, "Oh wow, big changes, huh?"
Oh shoot!
Yeah.
Nah, yeah, it's funny. No, it's all love, man. We
Yep.
we actually get a huge support at our show from the. I mean that steelhead stuff up there, like it's a big deal. So yeah, man, we love them all.
Oh
Honestly,
yeah, steelhead are no joke. Yeah.
no, it's a big deal up there. So Yep. So Bo, you're a father of daughters. We usually try to end the show and ask our guests for some piece of life advice, business advice, anything you would tell a young kid thinking about buying a boat or going into the real world. Does something come to mind that someone's maybe told you at some point that stuck, or you seem like a guy that could have a good word for somebody?
Well, I appreciate you asking. Yeah, some people around here think I have a lot of advice, but from fisherman standpoint, and a lot of us tournament fish and like to tournament fish, but there's a whole group of people that just stink and like to fish and like to catch them. And so I guess I'm old enough now that the tournament scene, I didn't get the math on that, like the finances. And so
Right.
there's a group of people kind of like me that I like to chase the bite. I like to I like to fish new lakes. I like to fish with people I really enjoy that enjoy the sport like I do. And that's okay. Like you don't have to fish tournaments to like I have a job in the industry. You do things in the industry. Like there's a way to be in and around fishing without having to be a tournament fisherman and go broke. And so I would just tell guys like, hey, we sell an expensive bass boat, and if you can afford it, you ought to get it. And if you enjoy it, enjoy the heck out of it, and enjoy. I buy really nice tackle. I like really good rods and reels because I enjoy the heck out of them. A fine piece of equipment, but don't go broke trying to do this. You know what I mean? And don't sacrifice your family, certainly, for your hobby. And let's just face it, it's a hobby, right? So some people wouldn't want to hear that, but
No,
I
man,
think
I like it.
there's a way to pursue the sport and keep it in a nice, healthy place in your life, right? And have great relationships around fishing and that sort of thing. It doesn't all have to be hardcore tournament fishermen, on the road sleeping out of your truck. That just never really appealed to me.
Yeah. No,
No, that's
great
great advice.
advice.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, because you can enjoy just getting out with a $10,000 pickup truck and a $200 John boat. Um, you don't need a $200,000 rig to do what you love. So, no,
Yeah.
great
Yep.
wisdom there.
Yep. But we're trying to make a really good piece of equipment that we hope people will consider. I want people to take a look at us when they go to buy their next bass boat because I think we're making a nice product for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you guys are, and I think
But I
it.
will tell you this. So last thing, you guys have daughters.
Yes,
Just have patience and don't react.
I've learned quick. I've learned quick.
I
That
learned
is
not to. I learned there was a time period when my twins were teenagers that I learned that no matter what seemed crisis mode we were in, that I had to just not react. Go, oh, that's interesting.
someone's got
Just
to
let it go.
someone's got to
Because
Yeah,
keep that ebb and
let
flow
it go.
going for
Just
sure.
let it go.
Yeah. No, it's
yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah.
don't buy them. I told you I had lots of advice. And when they get their first car, don't buy them an expensive car because they will bump into something.
I guarantee you that. I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know. I tease my daughter all the time. That's how I keep her in check. I tell her she's gonna get my little beater car I used to run around in right now. She'll straighten right up when I tell her that.
That's funny.
So yeah. Well, Bo, hey man, I appreciate you coming on, dude, and hope we can do it again sometime. I think you guys are just going to continue to kill it, and you, everything you guys are doing is just top notch. So,
Well, I
um,
appreciate that, and we're working on it. We're south of Knoxville, around Sweetwater, Tennessee, in Madisonville, right off I-75 between Chattanooga and Knoxville. And if somebody's really interested in an iKon boat, they can call us at customer service, get a hold of me, and I'll take them on a plant tour. If somebody's really interested, and I like doing that and
yeah,
showing
I'd
them.
like to do that if I'm ever down that way. So
All you got to do is let me know.
I do. I've been talking to a guy. I've been looking for a little aluminum john boat. We got a bunch of 10-horse lakes here in Ohio, little mud puddles I call them. But for some reason, those little 10 john boat, like 16 foot, 1648s or whatever, they're so much cheaper down there than everybody wants a lot more up here. So I may come down and grab one at some point. I'll holler at you, but I don't know if I'll be able to buy an iKon while I'm there, but we'll keep evolving. We got a lot of jigs to sell, Bo.
Yeah, I don't know. You're selling a lot of jigs. You're working me over
Hey
there.
man, yeah, we got dreams. So I got these little girls to support. So I got to keep everything in check for now. You know how it is. So,
I do. I do.
but
Well, guys,
yeah,
I've really enjoyed this. I appreciate you letting me talk about iKon boats and everything else, but it's very enjoyable for me. So I appreciate it.
yeah.
No, thank
No,
you.
thank you, buddy.
Yeah. So,
Nope. Thanks,
um,
guys.
All
thanks,
right.
Bo.
Well, we'll talk soon, man.
You got it.
Thanks for listening, everybody. This episode was brought to you by the Great Lakes Fishing Expo. Remember, please leave us a comment, a subscribe, any kind of interaction on a major podcast platform will help us grow. We're going to continue to bring these to you every week, and we want to bring you topics that you want to hear. So we want the feedback, and we want to make them better for you.